Thank you very much. And I won't use a PPT. This is not why because I would be lazy, but just to avoid technical problems, which were occurred today. Yes, the subject of my presentation is a cooperation and verification mechanism. And when we started this research, this legal procedure and the mechanism, actually it was something alive. Now it doesn't exist anymore. In 2023, in October, ceased to function. So practically, this seems to be issue of legal history, which I really like. So I have no problem about speaking on issues of legal history. But I think that this cooperation and the verification mechanism has its own life, and we can learn a lot from that. Why? Because I consider that this cooperation and verification mechanism is the mother and father of the present rule of law mechanism. So it is something which was experienced by the European Commission on two countries, because this cooperation and verification mechanism was enacted for only two countries, the 2007 accession countries, which were Romania and Bulgaria. So this seems that if we are talking about the 2007 accession date and it was in force till 2023, that means that more than 1.5 decade experience is accumulated. So this is something we should consider when we are tackling the issues of the rule of law mechanism as well. And of course, we can raise the question why it was ended in 2023. Of course, we have some political declarations that the two countries fulfilled the commitments which they took in 2007 and during the accession negotiations. In my opinion, the reason why this procedure ceased to exist, it was the introduction of the rule of law mechanism, because it would be actually a duplication of the control and supervision mechanisms, and the Commission does not want it to work twice for the same countries, for Romania and Bulgaria. So what we can see that practically the cooperation and verification mechanism is not defunct but transformed into the rule of law mechanism. And for Romania and Bulgaria, this has only one positive side, a positive effect. Why? Because actually we considered this mechanism a little bit discriminatory. It was a sign of distrust, and affected only these two countries. And practically what is happening now, that this sign of distrust is broadened to every member state, and it is including much more problems that were raised in relationship with Romania and Bulgaria. So the rule of law mechanism is practically covering more topics and all member states. So I would like to ask and answer or try to answer 4 questions, which were the origins of this cooperation and verification mechanism, what we learned regarding rule of law in the application process of this mechanism. It was more than, as I said, more than 1.5 decades. Some issues related to the procedure, because also it is important, and we can learn something from that. And the last issue which I would like to tackle is related to the sanctions, possible sanctions. The origins, practically what happened, it was a political goal to accept Romania and Bulgaria in 2007 as member states of the European Union. And all the negotiating parties, including the two member states, felt that there are remaining issues which are not solved at the moment of accession. So this is why this set of unsolved problems led to the creation of this cooperation and verification mechanism. Of course, there can be two sides of the same problem. We can say that Romania and Bulgaria were accepted, so this is an issue of anticipated trust, or they were accepted practically under the condition of this cooperation and verification mechanism, which is a sign, as I said, of distrust. So it depends on the point of view. If we see as a favor by the EU to these two states, actually it's not a unilateral favor, because these two states opened their markets and so on. So it can be analyzed from a sociological point of view, which party gained what, but that would be a question which is not mainly a legal problem. So what happened in 2006 with two Commission decisions? This mechanism was created, and if we check these two decisions from 2006, we will find first a very important problem, that these decisions actually are very important, affecting in final sovereignty of the state. And there is no clear legal basis in EU law for that. Only one legal text was invoked in the decisions as fundament for this mechanism. That was Article 37 of the accession treaty of the two states. And that Article 37 actually stated, in short, that there can be so-called safeguard measures against these two states if they cannot fulfill their commitments taken during the accession, and these safeguard measures are meant to protect the internal market. So this is a very important text, but there's nothing about this cooperation and verification mechanism. It is about the possible actions taken by the EU if something is really wrong in these two states. And it is a very important legal issue which was raised, that the Article 37 said that such safeguard measures can be taken for 3 years from the accession date. So the Commission had 3 years to take a safeguard measure. And of course, the text later stated if a safeguard measure was taken, that the duration of that measure can be longer than the 3 years. But the initiation of the safeguard measure was set in 3 years from the accession date. If this is the legal basis for the cooperation and verification mechanism, then what could be the duration of the cooperation and verification mechanism? That's the question. Because such a safeguard measure was never introduced. So practically we can say that this cooperation and verification mechanism, if it's really based on Article 37 of the accession treaty, could last 3 years, or can be kept over the 3 years if a safeguard measure is taken, because that we can say that it's necessary to decide on revocation or keeping the safeguard measure. So, but no safeguard measure was taken, and the cooperation and verification mechanism lasted till 2023. So this is a question of rule of law in the end, because this you will see this was a relatively energetic way of collaboration and control. So we have a basic legal problem here related to the temporary character of this mechanism. Second issue which I want to handle is the rule of law problem. What we learned about rule of law during this period. We learned something, but I am not really sure that we are in any sense closer to a better understanding of what rule of law actually is. Because this mechanism had a very precise focus. Only those problems which were considered problematic in the two states. And there are some differences also between the two states. If we want to have a very short overview of those issues, that is the judiciary, the efficiency of the judiciary, impartiality of judiciary, and so on. This is one issue. Corruption, which is the second issue, and only for Bulgaria was the third issue, organized crime. Organized crime was not raised in relation to Romania, and the Commission actually, through these two decisions, set benchmarks which were actually checked if the two states comply with those benchmarks. And the Commission retained also the unilateral right to modify those benchmarks. The Commission didn't do that, but it had the right to change actually the focus or broaden the focus of this control and so on. So practically, as I said, as anticipated conclusion, we did not learn a lot about the concept of rule of law because this mechanism was partial in many senses. Partial because it focused only on selected topics. So rule of law concept is much broader, and it has a very general formulation. Raise the efficiency of the justice system, or in some other cases there were much more detailed requirements. For example, in case of Romania, establish integrity authority which checks the declarations regarding their wealth of the public dignitaries and so on. So then you can say that you establish that agency. Yes, it is established. So it's something which can be checked. But to say that the justice system is more transparent and efficient, it's a really vague formulation, and it's very subjective which is the moment when you can say that benchmark is reached or not. And the second issue is that we are lawyers, and if we look at those benchmarks, we can see that only in part are legal requirements. In many cases, there are policy issues with very different methods which can be used to reach the same goal, and actually it is not really comparable to an abstract idea of rule of law, what is happening on the field, because we lack that abstract idea of rule of law which is applicable in this sense. And what is very interesting for me and underlines the problem that the reason why this mechanism was closed is just to avoid duplication, is that practically no assessment, final assessment of this process was made. we have political declarations that we congratulate as Commission that these two countries, we are closing the procedure, but why? So it was never really analyzed, this 1.5 decade together in a comprehensive way to have a look what real developments were made. Of course, we cannot deny that this procedure had also positive effects. It made reforms, gave us a pace for the reforms, gave a structured way for some reforms, but in reality, we are not really sure of the real effects of the mechanism. The third issue is procedure, and I will be very brief regarding this because there are a lot of technicalities. The mechanism was based on reports like the rule of law mechanism. There was a self-assessment of the country, and the Commission actually it was a rule that must report on the progress of these two states in every 6 months, something like that. And this resulted practically of two kinds of reports. Progress report, which is an overall policy analysis, and technical report, which deals with the data used for the progress report. The number of the progress reports are much higher than those of the technical reports. I counted that we have 21 progress reports for Romania, 18 progress reports for Bulgaria, and 12 technical reports for each of those countries. And these are relatively long documents detailing a lot of aspects of the reforms undertaken by these two countries. Legal and policy analyses are mixed, but for me, which I know relatively well what is happening in Romania on the fields, it is at least one strange characteristic that is very selective. Left out some of the very real problem and crisis in the justice system are not tackled at all or very superficially. And the focus is on, in some cases, mainly on issues which are not really problematic. So because some of the reforms, radical reforms of the judiciary were made in Romania in 2003, 4 years before the accession date. And of course, from methodological point of view, we can raise a lot of questions. Sources not indicated in most of the cases. As I said, selective approach to different issues, superficiality in others. So this is a complicated problem, which I think it can be raised also in the context of the rule of law reports, the accuracy and the selection of issues. What are the reasons some of the problems are left out? For example, Romania created a very harsh anti-corruption policy, and but that has a lot of shortcomings. Those issues are really left out. Many of the problems are left out from these reports. And the last issue, the sanctions of this cooperation and verification mechanism. Of course, reporting itself is a sanction because these reports were made public from the start, and this is a means of accountability if such a report is public. But of course, a lot of negotiations and direct communications with the policymakers and the European Commission took place. So we can say that this was a dialogue between the Commission and the political authorities of Romania. Of course, the decisions creating the cooperation and verification mechanism also contained the reference on Article 37 and safeguard measures, contrary to the accession treaty, without any time limit. So the decision and the accession treaty are not at the same level in the hierarchy of legal norms. So it is really hard to make an overall assessment. Sometimes this mechanism it was perceived as having discriminatory characters to these two states. Sometimes it gave an impetus to real reforms, and we remained with the question mark that why real in-depth analysis was not made of this 1.5 decade and of this mechanism. And I can conclude with the idea formulated at the start that if a cooperation and verification mechanism was a sign of distrust towards these two countries, yes, of course, and we can still see the sign of distrust. For example, these are the two states which are not yet Schengen members, despite the fact that every requirement was fulfilled, I don't know, 10 years ago for that, in order of the softwares, military control, custom authorities, and so on, which are required. And I leave to you to answer the question that the new rule of law report is something which made this distrust broader or not. Thank you very much.